Hello, Home Slices is Kiera with Home Slice Adulting coming to you with my review for Iyanla Fix My Life, Season 6, Episode, I think it's 20 or 21. Let's see what the title of this one is. Born in Prison, Lil Karla Beverly. Is her name actually Lil Karla? Because her grandma's name, no, I'm confused now. Is her aunt is her aunt named Karla too? Yeah, I'm tripping. Anyways, thank you for clicking on this video. Pardon my confusion. It just threw me off reading the title of this episode. Um, but my thank you for clicking on this video. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to share this video with someone who you think will enjoy it. Let's get into this portion of what I just saw of Iyanla Fix My Life. And so we have Kevrick, who is Lil Karla's. Well, let's start with Lil Karla. Okay, so Lil Karla is apparently the wild child of the family. She has behavioral issues. She has done criminal activity, stolen things from her family, sent to jail by her family. And Iyanla starts off the show by saying every family has one, a wild child. And I'm sure, we can all think of someone in our family who is a wild child. And if you can, it's because they hide up their wild child. They hide their wild child behavior. But the point is that her family is at the end of their rope. They say that ever since she was a little girl, she has been getting in trouble, getting kicked out of schools, getting kicked out of preschools and daycares and all that kind of stuff. And so we have Kevrick, who is Lil Karla's dad. We have Sharon, who is Kevrick's mother and Lil Karla's grandmother. And then we have, is it Karla? I think her aunt's name is Karla. So they have all been trying to raise her, trying to rear her up, and it's just not working. And Iyanla immediately is like in reality check mode. You can tell that she's not really featuring. She's not really here for the denial and the shenanigans of the family. And because she knows, and we all know the age-old adage that the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, she knows that there is something at the root of this bad behavior, and of course her family is going to be a part of that. And so immediately I feel like Iyanla's attitude towards these three older family members who are supposed to have raised Lil Karla is more like, okay, it's time for you all to get a reality check. It's time for you all to listen to what you are saying and actually be questioned about your expectations for how Lil Karla was going to come out, with you all being the environment that she was raised in. And so we find out a number of things. We find out that Lil Karla's mother was a drug addict who went to jail at 5 months pregnant. And so Lil Karla was born in jail, essentially. And they came to get her, when she was born from the jail. We find out that Sharon, who is Lil Karla's grandmother, was a drug addict and a drug dealer. And her house was apparently the crack house. Now, Kevrick put it nicely and said, our house was the house that you came to get drugs, which sounds like a crack house to me. So that's probably what it was. But Iyanla was right. They tried to pretty that up. And Iyanla was like, it's no wonder that you were sleeping with a drug addict. And Sharon was like, no, that's not the reason. And it's like, okay, you raised your children in a crack house. You did and sold drugs in front of your children. And then you don't think that has anything to do with Kevrick sleeping with and having a baby with a drug addict. I feel like there's like a clear connection between those two things, and the fact that Sharon was denying it is showing that all of these people who helped to raise Little Carla are in denial about their role and what that means. Because I feel like they knew she had behavioral problems as a very young child because she was getting kicked out of preschools. Why weren't they able to turn it around? And it's looking to me like they have so much focus on the behavior and not enough focus on the root of the behavior, or how they contributed to the behavior, or how they maybe rewarded the behavior. Who knows, what ways they coped with it. At one point, she was, for like a year, she was in group homes because basically her dad gave her away. And I can imagine that that only made things worse. Time and time again, multiple guests on this show are in group homes or in foster care, and they tell horror stories about the stuff that has happened to them. So over the course of the year, who knows what happened to little Karla, in addition to realizing that she was voluntarily surrendered by her father, which is abandonment. Um, Now, little Karla is not without responsibility. I'm guessing we'll hear from her a little bit later. But that's all I have for now, and I will be back with more. And we are back. So, we have Iyanla pulling out cards now, telling the three adult family members who helped to raise little Karla, all she's doing is working with the cards that she were dealt. So she has different things on these cards that she talks to them about, regarding their family dynamics. And they talked about death. And Kevrick said that he lost his wife due to an issue with childbirth. Now, something about the story disconnected for me, because Sharon said that the baby was a week old. So I'm trying to figure out if he lost his wife and the baby, or my dog has to go outside. Let me come back. All right, y'all, I'm back. And so when Kevrick was talking about losing his wife, and I could not figure out, I was confused if they were saying that he lost his wife and the baby or just his wife. But either way, he talks about losing his 16-year-old son to who was murdered. And just seeing how much pain that brought up. And, Iyanla said that she was sorry for his loss and just asked him, how are you dealing with all of this grief? And he basically says, something to the effect of, you just push through. And I think that, unfortunately, that's something that a lot of people deal with. If you want to break it down by demographics, it's something that men do. Men tend to not be as in touch with their emotions as they should be, because it's seen as not being masculine or manly to have feelings and to deal with those in a constructive manner. You can also say that as Black people, we tend to ignore our mental health with regards to getting professional help. Because of a stigma that goes along with that, and therapy is for white people, and so being a Black man, I can understand how he just pushes through all of that pain. But when you have so much pain inside of you, it's like impossible for you to give your best to somebody else because you aren't the best for yourself. And so Iyanla was telling them, there's so much pain in this family. I'm almost as concerned for the three of you as I am for little Karla, because this is the stuff that she was raised with. She was raised knowing the pain that you have felt from losing another son, and from losing your wife, and from growing up in a crack house, basically, and being born in a jail. All of this stuff is a recipe for who little Karla is now. And so she sends them away with some homework, and then we finally meet little Karla. She's 24, and she comes in and has a conversation with Iyanla, asking basically, why are you here? And she says she agrees with her family that she has issues that she needs to work through, and that her biggest issue is with her father. And one of the things that she brings up is that growing up, being a single man and attractive man, y'all, let me tell y'all something. Black don't crack. Sharon, the grandma, is 71 years old. She looks great. They all look great. He looks young. He's what, 46 or 47? I don't remember. Mid to late 40s, and he looks good. Black don't crack, y'all. Anyways, anyways, when she was growing up, he had women in and out of the house, her words, not mine, and that they didn't really form a genuine bond with her. They just did like this temporary mothering thing for the sake of their relationship with her father. And so she really didn't have a good, stable motherly presence. And I get that. Growing up in a single parent household, you feel the most secure when you have your single parent to yourself. And when they get into a relationship, a lot of questions come up. How does this, now that there is a person who they need to spend time with and spend money on and spend their energy on, where do I come into play? How is this new person going to feel about me? Do they really care about me, or do they only care that they don't look like a bad person because they haven't spent any time with their, significant other's child? Or, I can understand how not having a stable mother figure who formed a genuine bond with her would impact her, and not really give her a good motherly figure to look after. To model herself after. And she said that the only person who really speaks positivity into her life is her nana, which I'm assuming is Sharon, but I actually really don't know. And she starts to, get upset and starts to cry a little bit. And something about her seems very numb. And it's weird because I feel like she's being genuine, but something about her body language and I guess the way she's saying stuff comes off as if she's being manipulative. And again, I think she's being genuine, and I think that she's truly speaking about some of the issues that she has with her family. But it's like she's so numb that it almost seems like she's acting, like it isn't real. It's weird. I don't know if anybody knows what I mean by that. Because again, I think she's being genuine, but like if I didn't feel that genuine feeling from her, it would feel like she's just being manipulative for like Iyanla's sake, or for the sake of being on TV. Maybe I didn't explain that well, but that's just what I'm thinking. Anyways, Iyanla gets close to her to hold her, and she sees a cut on her forearm and asks her what that's about. And apparently she, little Karla just one day said, I can't deal with this no more, and, cut herself. And, thankfully she survived, and hopefully something that Iyanla says or does with their family can help them to move forward in a positive direction. But it's very clear that little Karla needs help, and hopefully she can get the tools, and her family can get the tools to help her, because like Iyanla said, all it takes is the right cut at the right angle at the right depth, and it's over, and little Karla is gone. And so hopefully they can prevent that. All right, real quick. Usually I like to come in between commercial breaks to, do the parts of my video that I splice together at the end. But I had to stop in the middle of this clip. Okay, remember how I was just talking about how it comes like Karla's actions could come off as manipulative? I think my thoughts about that were right, because after I came back from the commercial break, when Iyanla was holding her, there were no tears coming out of her eyes. Now, I don't have the patience enough to like rewind and go back to when she first got emotional to see if there are actual tears then, and maybe she just, was just upset and sniffling and maybe no more tears had dropped. But at that point, there were no tears on her face at all. And then Iyanla got to the point where she asked her, well, what do you do for work? And she says, I'm a manager at Chipotle. Okay, now, Chipotle don't let just anybody manage their stores, under my impression. You have to work your way up to that. You have to be deserving of that and get promoted and stuff like that. And so to see that she is a person who functions well in a professional environment, so much so that she's a manager at a Chipotle, Iyanla called her out on that. If you know how to function in a professional environment, you can control yourself at home. So you're busted. And to me, that comes off as being manipulative. If she is capable for 8 hours or 10 hours, however long her workday is, to remain professional and to control her behavior, she should be able to do the same thing at home. And it comes off to me as manipulative for her to act badly at home and not at work. So maybe I was right a little bit about the manipulation, but whatever. Iyanla says to her, and I don't 100% think of this as true, that there's nothing wrong with Lil Karla, that it's the village that has raised her. And while I think they have a large hand, a huge hand, maybe 85-90% hand in the way her behavior is, I also believe that Lil Karla has to take some type of personal responsibility. Yeah, we are all responsible for our actions. And at 24, you should take responsibility for your actions. And for Iyanla to say to Lil Karla, nothing's wrong with you, it's all about your family, just reaffirms to Lil Karla that she's not responsible for her actions. So we'll see if Iyanla holds her accountable for anything. Because maybe you can get away with being bad as a child, but at 24 years old, stealing from your family, you know what you're doing at that point, especially if you know how to act in a professional environment. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. Okay, so now we are at this point where Iyanla is talking to the village yet again, and she is getting down to the nitty gritty and basically revealing the truths that are within each one of them that they haven't really said to Lil Karla. Maybe that they haven't even really said to each other. And I will admit that Kevrick is a little harsh. Saying that he is adamant about protecting his peace and that Karla is not a part of that Karla is a project. And Iyanla is like, it's clear that you all had no interest in raising her, really, and that you all took her because you had to, and how dare she be a problem now that you have taken her in. And they all seem to be pretty rattled by the fact that she cuts herself and that she is, down the road to suicide, really. And Iyanla is like, it's weird. People get on these shows, they do these exercises with Iyanla, they have these confessional moments where they tell the absolute truth about what's going on in these situations, and then spend years with somebody and not tell them that part of their truth. And as much as that doesn't make sense, I know that I have done it before, and I'm at a point in my life where saying how I feel and what I think has become more important to me. A lot of times in the past, I would have opinions and thoughts on things and just not say anything, not wanting to ruffle any feathers, not wanting to disrupt relationships, not wanting to do anything to take everything out of equilibrium. It was just a way for me to get out of saying how I feel and being honest with people. And I think that I have to calibrate because not everything is worth saying. And once you say something, you can't take it back. And you just got to figure out how to pick your battles. But when it comes to situations like these are sentiments that they don't have to tell little Karla. She can tell from their actions that they don't want her. But they need to be honest about it. They need to be honest so they can get down to the bottom of it and fix it. And so that is what Iyanla is going to do for them. Give them an opportunity to be honest and then work on it from there. And so now little Karla is going to tell them how she experiences them. And this is going to be interesting. Something about little Karla is throwing me off a little bit. We'll see how it goes. This episode is getting weird, y'all. So little Karla sits down with the village and has a candid conversation about what's been going on in their family, how she feels they don't listen to her, how they don't check on her. She doesn't really cry with tears that often, y'all. Maybe it's her tear ducts. I don't know. Doesn't mean the stuff that she isn't saying is valid, but it gives me pause, like I said before, but we'll move past that. Iyanla has to check Kevrick, the father, and tell him, okay, look, one thing that she says that she doesn't like about you all is that you always have these negative put downs, and you constantly remind her of what she has done. You don't acknowledge how she's trying to change. So change your language. Change your language when you are dealing with her and say, it has been difficult in the past to have a conversation for you, but we are trying to change that. Or things along those lines. And just changing your language around things can help, rebuild relationships and whatnot. And he didn't seem to answer Iyanla when she kind of put the shoe on the other foot and was like, what if every time he spoke to his daughter, she said something to the effect, well, I know you didn't want me, but can I have $40? Or I know you didn't want me, but can we have a conversation? He didn't seem to answer that question. But anyways, it comes to the point where it's just daddy-daughter day, right? It's just daddy-daughter conversation with Iyanla, and Iyanla tells her, it's a privilege for you to have this conversation. And while we get to do anything while we are living, while we are alive, while we are breathing, is a privilege. Every day like that is a privilege. So I get what Iyanla was saying. Then things started to get what I feel are petty. Dare I say it? She brings up the issue with the piggy bank. We don't know how long ago it happened or whatever, but apparently somebody stole some money out of a piggy bank. The fact that this grown man still has a piggy bank is a little funny, but that's not the point of the story. The point is, some money came up missing from the piggy bank. He thought it was his daughter based on her previous behavior. And again, there has to be some personal responsibility taken, because if something goes wrong and somebody is always looking in your direction, that means that you have a reputation for doing those things, and that's your responsibility to maintain your reputation. And if somebody can frame you for something based on your reputation, part of that is on you, just a little bit, okay? But aside from that, she says that his wife took the money out of the piggy bank and basically framed her. And he didn't really seem to believe her. And I'm trying to figure out why the piggy bank thing is such a big deal. But later when they're showing the preview of what's to come, oh no, he says that his wife's car came up missing, and she, had some abusive language about his wife. And yeah, okay, look, maybe she framed you for the piggy bank thing, but you stole her car? That's an overreaction. That's a big big overreaction. There has, again, I agree with the family that there has to be some sort of accountability. Did she take that woman's car? If she took that woman's car, she has to take responsibility for that. Getting framed for taking some money out of a piggy bank and then going to steal somebody's car, that person's car, is too much. So overreaction in my estimation, but of course I don't know all the details of that situation. But to me, Iyanla's face was like, this is getting petty. What is the overarching idea? And Lil Karla says something about his wife wanting to pull them apart, wanting them to not be together. So I guess we'll see more later on. Y'all, they got me over here tearing up. I don't know if the person that they are talking about is his current wife, but apparently, Lil Karla stole the woman's car first, and then the piggy bank thing happened. Yeah, if you can steal a car, you can steal out of a piggy bank. Yeah. I know she was framed. I believe she was framed for the piggy bank thing. But again, you have to manage your own reputation. If you have a reputation for being a thief and stealing cars, you'll steal out of a piggy bank. You know how easy it is to frame somebody with a bad reputation? You got to manage your reputation a little better. But anyways, besides the piggy bank thing, the big deal, the reason why it's such a huge deal is because that's something she talked about earlier in the show. That there were women in and out of his life who only had any form of connection with her so they could be with him. And he was like, I could see why she would think that. And Iyanla says to him, tell her about what it was like trying to raise her. And he started talking about how, how she smelled and how he didn't want her to get diaper rash and how he, would struggle trying to comb her hair and how he would carry her on his back when he didn't have a car and, how he feels like overall he failed her. And she was like, you didn't fail me. And they hug and they cry and they make me cry. I'm a crier. I'm a crier. And they, crying in this hug and telling each other that they love each other and that, they're not giving up on each other. It was just a beautiful moment. And so now Iyanla is sitting down with the rest of the village and they have thrown out the old cards and they are writing up new cards. And so I'll be back in a little bit to tell you all about that. All right, y'all. So we are at the final part of the show where the family is creating their new cards. Kevrick is going to be more open and receptive to his daughter so they can build a better bond. Iyanla finally, had the accountability talk with Lil Karla, and that she apologized to her aunt for selling her TV, stealing her car, something about a game set. And while it was difficult for Lil Karla to apologize to her aunt, Iyanla was like, this is what accountability looks like. You did those things, so you have to answer for them. You have to be held accountable for those things. And she apologized, and it looks like Lil Karla's behavior has been a lot better and that she's building a better relationship with her father, and it looks like this really worked for them. So I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to see that they are moving forward in a better direction, and I, pray that it continues. And so this has been my review of this episode of Iyanla Fix My Life. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to share and like this video and to subscribe to my channel, and then hit the little bell so you can get notifications of when I post new content. Thank you all so much for watching, and peace out, home slices.